Hey, I know I never really used this account, so hey guys. But I figured this was a great opportunity with everything that's going on right now in the community to just come on my channel, even though it's a very small audience, to come on and talk about some huge issues that I have with Screwface Jean and just how he acts, the rhetoric that he spreads to his audience, all that kind of stuff. So before I get into that, just quickly, big shout out to Mari. I'm really happy that he went out of his way, to diss and go through this whole battle that he's going through with Screwface Jean right now, because there'll probably be people talking about this in his comments for months and months. And so it's definitely some sacrifice for him to choose to go through this. But I think someone's needed to call out Screw for years, literally since he's been a part of this community, because he does so much harm to it just with his rhetoric. I mean, his fan base is so huge, he spreads so much bullshit out. So like, I'm really happy that Mari did that, and I'm glad that it was someone like him, because also he's a great rapper, so he's able to back up the shit that he says when Screw, of course, is going to diss him, because that's what Screw does. He causes drama. But anyway, on to the issues that I wanted to actually focus on, because like, I don't want to focus on how Screw like just demeans the culture of nerdcore music as a whole, how he like treats certain artists super poorly, how he forgets people's names. Like, we all know that stuff. That stuff that Mari said in his track. I would highly recommend that you like really listen to Mari's second song that he did about Screw only, because like the stuff he said in there, it is a diss track, but it's also like a more serious issue, because this is Mari addressing such a huge figure in our scene. Like, what he's saying holds real weight. It's serious. It's not just a battle online. It's not just a diss track. Mari's bringing up serious shit that Screw does that harms the whole community and tons of people. And I mean, every fucking artist in this community has to hear exactly what Screw says, just regurgitated to them. And a lot of it's really stupid. Anyway, on to my more serious issues. I want to talk about Screw's homophobia and sexism, and just how rampant it is in his reaction content. And I mean, in his music, though less so. That's just sadly kind of something that you expect when you're listening to hip-hop, usually, is rampant homophobia and sexism. But in his reactions, it's different, because he's talking to the camera, he's talking to his audience directly, and he still shows those same ideals. So quick disclaimer beforehand, I want to say that homophobia, sexism, racism, all that, our culture kind of treats that as like, first of all, it's very, very much a buzzword, so it's like a scary thing for our culture, but also we treat it as like, people who are racist, sexist, homophobic, excuse me, we treat them as like, the people who do that are like yelling slurs in the streets, beating up people. But like, in reality, the racist, the sexist people, they do it under the table. They aren't super obvious about it. Like, if you watched one or two Screw videos, you probably wouldn't realize how fucked up he is. But when you are a fan of him, or used to be a fan of him in my case, you realize how fucked up it is. It's just, you have to be looking for it. Anyway, though, first, let's talk about his homophobia. Let me take a deep breath first, because I've been talking for like 5 minutes straight. I'm not used to that. But I think it's easy to point to the femboy cipher when we want to talk about this. And I want to say it's okay to be a little uncomfortable with the femboy cipher as a concept. If you're not used to the idea of femboys, you're going to be a little like, what is this? This is weird. And so I think a great example of this is if we compare Token Black's really recent reaction to the femboy cipher versus Screw's reaction. In Token's reaction, he seems a little standoffish at first. He's a little like, throws a little disclaimer in about why he was avoiding this. He seems a little like, what is this going to be? But once he actually gets into it, he really enjoys the music. He doesn't discredit the artist simply because they make gay references or even reference gay sex, things like that, which, I mean, straight sex is incredibly rampantly referenced in rap music. So like, it's very normal that a person who is gay would want to reference that in their music. I mean, it's clearly a part of rap is referencing sex. I mean, it's historically been that way. But anyway, you see Token, he doesn't dismiss the artists for that. He doesn't say anything hateful. He doesn't even seem to question it. He just was a little confused at the start, says that he thought it might pop up with some weird things on his timeline, and then enjoys the cipher. And then he says it was one of his favorite ciphers. He even has like a really funny table slam at the end as he's like absolutely loving him's second verse in it, which is, by the way, an amazing verse. Then we compare Scru's reaction, where Scru is immediately standoffish, immediately rude in the same way, similar to how Token was, that is. But whenever an artist says anything remotely gay or even close to referencing upon it, he immediately dismisses the line, laughs, says a thing like pause, gets very uncomfortable, and is just generally very hateful and doesn't enjoy the music the same way that he would for normal music. And normal, that was kind of bad use of normal, apologies there, but like the music that he typically consumes. Anyway, so that is like a super common thing we see in people who are homophobic. It's like they'll outwardly say, you know, I'm cool with gay people, I'm cool with the LGBTQIA community, I don't have any problem with that. But what they're really saying, and that's what Scru is saying, is I'm fine with it as long as they're far away from me. As long as I don't have to see them, I don't have to think about it. And if you watch his other reactions, you can see this too. As anytime there's any LGBTQ reference, he seems uncomfortable and he wants to push it away. As long as it's not near him, it's okay. But as soon as he sees it, he gets uncomfortable, he's not okay with it. And that is the fucking definition of homophobia. Okay, I would highly also recommend, if you don't agree with me, you check out the two videos. I'll link them in the description, Token's video versus Scru's video. Next, we'll get to his sexism. His sexism follows pretty similar parameters, where obviously he never outwardly admit that he's sexist, but great example of this is any song that has a club-type beat. Game Boy Jones' Toto Rap is another great example of this when he did a reaction to it. And he says things like, quote, "This is a song for the ladies. This is a song for women." And he's done this for many other tracks as well. He sometimes says this as well when there's a women singer or a female artist doing it. Uncommon for him to say that's normally a club-type beat, or just a song that he thinks he could imagine himself in the club, which is what I'm trying to get to here. Scru doesn't see girls as the same thing as man. He doesn't really see them as human, because women listen to the same fucking music men do. There might be some slight deviation to certain artists. There will be. But not that big a difference, bro. I am a fucking philosophy major. I'm decently femme presenting when I'm dressed up. And also, I don't party at all. I'm like a boring-ass motherfucker who goes to play board games with his friends and watch anime. And I fucking love Peso Pete's music. You think there's any clear connection between what Peso Pete's music and me? No, I like it because it's great music. He's a great artist. Therefore, any woman or person who defines themselves as a woman can like the same music Scru likes. But Scru inflates someone being a woman to his sexual desire for women because he sees them as objects. When he thinks of a woman, he thinks of them in the context of a club-type beat. When they're providing him something, sexually, because in the club, it's a very sexual environment. He probably goes to have sex with women after it. That's pretty common. So he inflates club-type beat to equal women's type beat, because that's what he sees women as. Female objects in the club that are sexual objects that he's interested in. Women outside of his interest in sex, I don't think he'd probably view them completely differently. Now, I'm sure he's talked about his sister before. I don't think he's sexist to his sister, but he views her in a completely different light. Because most women he views as sexual objects. So you can see this in his music too, and other reactions as well. That's just the best example of him talking that way. Anyway, that's basically all I had to say. There's a lot of other hateful and nasty rhetoric Scru spreads. I just have not seen anyone else besides myself at least voicing these opinions. I'm sure other people are seeing this, and I would imagine other people are thinking it. They just don't want to say it, or they don't have a platform to say it. But this needs to be spread out. Also want to say that you can be sexist and homophobic without immediately ignoring women or LGBTQ people. Because, yes, Scru still reacts to women. He still reacts to people who are part of the LGBTQ community. But as soon as it was presented in front of him that they are a certain type of way, he would get very uncomfortable with it. Just imagine Scru reacting to Schwabity's Boa track. Just imagine it. He would not be able to handle it. He'd be extremely uncomfortable, and I think he'd probably permanently see Schwabity in a different light, at least for the next few videos, and then somehow he'd just forget that ever happened, as he seems to do with everything that he consumes, as he's not able to keep track of people's voices or truly anything else about them. He seems to consume it, and then it just is completely erased from his brain somehow. Anyway, I just really wanted to say this on a more positive note. If you guys are interested in me doing reactions again, my fans, I would love if you'd let me know in the comments, because while I don't have the time or resources to do them all the time, I do still really love this community. I enjoy watching the content that everyone puts out, and so I'd love to do some reactions sometimes if you guys were interested in that. Anyway, thanks for watching.